The Night of Dawn and the Rose of Glory. Chapter 1. The morning light of the Paz Empire fell from the tower outside the gate of the royal capital, and the golden light shone on the stone road, shining like stars. The leader of the Knights of Dawn, Glory Rose, rides a black war horse and patrols along the city walls. Her armor shimmered silvery in the sunlight, and the badge on her chest reflected a blood-colored rose, a symbol of glory and unyielding. Today, the royal capital is unusually quiet. Vendors on both sides of the street were extremely excited because it was rumored that His Majesty the Emperor planned to marry the Glory Rose. As soon as this news came out, the entire royal capital seemed to be shrouded in an atmosphere of nervousness and anticipation. Glory Rose secretly sneered in her heart. She has fought on the battlefield since she was a child and saved countless people, but she never thought of having anything to do with the Emperor. This Majesty, known for her romance and absurd deeds, was just an unpredictable disaster for her. The Deputy Commander Alter, who was riding sideways, had a solemn gaze, and he reminded in a low voice, "Commander, Your Majesty's interest is never based on common sense, this news. I'm afraid it's not a good thing." Glory Rose smiled lightly and tapped her fingers on the saddle. "That's why I want to see for myself what is going on. Chapter 2. The square of the palace was bustling with people. His Majesty sat on a golden chariot, his robe dancing like flames, wearing a pearlescent crown and a playful light in his eyes. The entourage carefully kept their distance, lest they anger the Emperor. "Glory Rose, you are finally here." His Majesty's voice was low but provocative, and he stretched out his hand to signal her to come closer. Glory Rose dismounted and looked at him calmly, her eyes as sharp as a knife. "Your Majesty, are today's rumors credible? Are you really going to marry me?" His Majesty smiled, with romantic banter and unpredictable danger in his smile. "Isn't it? The test given by God to the Paz Empire is you." Glory Rose raised her eyebrows and thought to herself, "This man is simply a disaster." Chapter 3. The news reached the camp of the Knights of Dawn, and the Deputy Commander Alter hurriedly summoned the knights. "Your Majesty really wants to marry the head of the regiment? What should we do?" Glory Rose sat quietly in the group tent, listening to the knights talking. Her gaze fell on an ancient map, an undisclosed frontier area of the Paz Empire. "Don't rush to make a decision," she said calmly, but her voice was as clear as a cold wind. "Regardless of the Emperor's intentions, we will ensure the security of the border first, and then talk about other things." Alter was stunned for a moment, knowing that the head of the group had always been like this. No matter how absurd the court was, her thinking always surpassed ordinary people. Chapter 4. At this moment, a mysterious messenger rushed from the palace, pulling a silver bird with a rune behind him. The bird fell on the shoulder of the Glory Rose, holding a letter sealed in wax. "Is this?" Honor Rose's heart was shocked and she opened the first letter. The paper was densely packed with runes, emitting a faint light, as if it could read her thoughts. "Commander, who sent this?" Alter asked suspiciously. Glory Rose murmured in a low voice, "I don't know this kind of rune, but I feel it's very dangerous." She put away the letter and secretly warned in her heart, "This matter is more unfathomable than the romance and absurdity on the surface." Chapter 5. At night, the moonlight of the royal capital is reflected on the city walls. Glory Rose rode alone through the empty streets, her thoughts surging. She knew that His Majesty's intentions could not be simple, and there must be deep trials and traps behind this so-called marriage. Suddenly, a crystal night fog condensed on the street corner, and a group of masked assassins quietly appeared, their swords flashing. Glory Rose held a long sword in her hand, her eyes were as cold as frost. "Since you are here, let me see who dares to challenge the Dawn Knight." In an instant, moonlight, sword light, and night fog intertwined, and battles broke out on the narrow streets. Her figure was like the wind, and as the long sword swung, the assassins fell one by one. After the victory, Glory Rose took a deep breath of night mist, knowing in her heart that this was only the first test. Chapter 6. In the camp of the Knights of Dawn, Rose of Glory sorted out the mysterious rune letter she had just received. The shimmering light from the rune seemed to flicker. She reached out to touch it, and in an instant, a vision flashed. In the distant wasteland, an ancient stone gate slowly emerged, with rotating blood-red text engraved on the door. Deputy Commander Alter looked at her and couldn't help but ask, "Commander, what is this place? It feels unusual." Glory Rose frowned slightly, and tapped the hilt of the sword with her fingers. "Unusual? This is a dangerous aura, deeper than His Majesty's trial. I have to find out first." In the night, she hung a crystal ball on her chest, her light flickering slightly, like a guardian talisman, illuminating the path in front of her. Chapter 7. The next morning, Rose of Glory rode her warhorse along the wasteland outside the royal capital. The wind howled on the wasteland, as if whispering. Suddenly, there was a slight movement in the grass. She drew her sword to be vigilant, and the long sword flashed cold light in the morning sun. A phantom beast with silver-white feathers and sharp eyes suddenly appeared, its tail dragging light and shadow, as if testing her mind and courage. Glory Rose calmly dismounted, slowly approached, and secretly analyzed in her heart, "This is not an ordinary phantom beast, it is related to runes, maybe some kind of protection." The phantom beast suddenly let out a low sound, and its tail crossed the ground, forming a path of light, pointing towards the ancient stone gate in the distance. Glory Rose murmured softly, "Sure enough, it's all about runes." Chapter 8. Passing through the light path of the wasteland, she came to the ancient stone gate. The stone door was engraved with strange symbols, shining with blood-red light, as if it could see through the heart. Rose of Glory reached out to touch the facade, and in an instant, visions swept over her. She saw future wars, clashes of the knights, and even the mysterious smile of His Majesty the Emperor. Alter, who was riding on the side, exclaimed, "Commander, is this foresight?" Glory Rose's eyes flashed with perseverance. "It's not foresight, it's trial. The miracle of the gods may be behind this blood-red stone gate." She took a deep breath and stepped steadily into the illusion, feeling that every step carried unknown dangers and challenges. Chapter 9. After stepping into the ancient stone gate, she was in a strange void, with fragments floating on the ground and faint light spots flashing in the sky. The air is filled with energy fluctuations, and every breath feels like absorbing unknown forces. Suddenly, a tall shadow appeared, his voice low but coercive, "Glory Rose, you are qualified to step into this place, but whether you can pass the test depends on your mind and courage." Glory Rose clenched the hilt of her sword and did not flinch. "Since this is a trial, I will go down step by step without fear of any obstacles." The shadows disappeared, and a labyrinth floated on the ground, and the passages were filled with illusions and traps. She knew that this was a test of her wisdom and will. Chapter 10. In the maze, every step is fraught with unknown dangers. Rose of Glory must distinguish between illusion and reality, and solve rune puzzles to move forward. On the way, she encountered a masked phantom with a vague but familiar voice. "Your choice will affect the future of the Paz Empire." Glory Rose was alert, the tip of her sword trembled slightly, and she thought to herself, "This phantom. It is related to His Majesty the Emperor or the mysterious sage." She analyzed calmly, avoided traps, interpreted rune hints, and was as careful as a chess game with every move. Deep in the labyrinth, there seems to be a flicker of light, calling her to keep going, and it also symbolizes the shocking secret that is about to be revealed. Chapter 11. The light in the depths of the maze gradually became clear, and the Glory Rose felt the aura of an ancient power carrying danger and unknown with every step. She paused and carefully examined the floating rune fragments around her. Deputy Commander Alter connected with her soul through the illusion and reminded in a low voice, "Leader, this is not only a trial, but also a message that wants you to understand Your Majesty's true intentions." Glory Rose nodded slightly, thinking to herself, "Your Majesty's romance and absurdity may only be appearances, but his real plan is more far-reaching than I imagined." She reached out and touched the runes, and the shimmering light flickered, reflecting the undercurrents within the royal capital, showing the cronies and conspiracies who were trying to manipulate the regime. Chapter 12. In the fantasy, she encountered a mysterious phantom, wearing ancient knight's armor, with a low voice but irresistible majesty. "Glory Rose, you must pass the test of wisdom and state of mind to protect the Paz Empire." Glory Rose clenched her long sword, her eyes shining with determination, since this is a trial, I will be fearless. The phantom disappears in an instant, and a new challenge emerges in the labyrinth, a bridge of flowing flames, beneath which lies a bottomless void. She took a deep breath and stepped steadily on the flame bridge, carefully with every step, feeling the heat of the flames and the changes in the illusion. This is not only a test of courage, but also a test of wisdom and calmness. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 13. When stepping on the flame bridge, Glory Rose came to a space where light and shadow intertwined. Countless broken mirrors float in the sky, reflecting her figure, but each mirror projects a different future: war, coup, victory, defeat. She closed her eyes, meditated on the mind, and focused on discerning what was real and what was illusion. Every breath was like adjusting my will, and I thought to myself, this trial is a miracle sent down by the gods, and it is also a tempering of my mind. Alter's voice sounded again, Commander, every step here is a choice, and if you make a mistake, everything may become illusory. Glory Rose nodded slightly, her eyes cold. I am not afraid of illusions, because true power comes from wisdom and determination. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 14. After traversing the labyrinth of light and shadow, she arrived at an infinite lake with mirror-like calmness, reflecting the silhouette of a huge palace emerging in the sky. An ancient ship floats in the middle of the lake, with a blood-colored rune engraved on the bow. Rose of Glory understands that this is the final part of the trial. One must board the ship and uncover the secrets of His Majesty the Emperor's arrangement with the mysterious sage. She carefully stepped into the lake, and the water rippled slightly, as if testing her state of mind. As she approached the ship, the lake suddenly rose with a strong light, and visions flooded her mind. She saw His Majesty's mysterious smile and saw herself facing countless choices. Every choice could change the future of the Empire, a test of mind, wisdom, and guts. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 15. After boarding the ancient ship, the Glory Rose faced an illusion door intertwined with light and darkness. The runes that appear on the door seem to tell the secret words of fate: choose trust or doubt, choose good intentions or cold calculations. She closed her eyes, focused her mind, and felt the flow of state of mind and wisdom. Every breath is like discerning the line between light and darkness. In the end, she chose wisdom and kindness, and the illusion instantly turned into light, illuminating the path ahead. Alter whispered beside him, Commander, you passed this trial. Glory Rose smiled, her eyes shining with perseverance. In this world, whether it is the absurdity of the Emperor or the mysterious trial, I will control my own destiny with wisdom and courage. Chapter 16. When Glory Rose returned to the royal capital from the illusion ancient ship, the atmosphere of the entire city was already different. The streets seemed to be filled with depression and undercurrents, and the whispers of vendors and the nervous expressions of soldiers all reminded her that something big was brewing. Deputy Regiment Commander Alter returned to the camp with her, frowning, Commander, I feel that behind your Majesty's actions, there is not only absurd romance, but also a deeper conspiracy. Glory Rose's heart was slightly shocked. Ever since she stepped into the illusion trial, she has understood that the gods' arrangements are not just superficial tests, but extreme tests of her mind and decision-making. She walked to the tent, unfolded the map, and pointed to the area where the capital and the border meet. There is something wrong here, we must investigate, confirm the safety of the Empire, and first understand your Majesty's true intentions. Alter was silent for a moment, then nodded, yes, Captain. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 17. In the palace, His Majesty the Emperor was talking secretly with his trusted strategists. He had a playful smile on his face, but his tone was a hidden threat. Glory Rose has passed the trial, and her wisdom and courage have even exceeded our expectations. The strategist responded in a low voice, Your Majesty, if she has too much information, I am afraid she will threaten the royal power. His Majesty stroked his chin and his eyes were deep. Because of this, we must guide her to the situation we have set and not let her notice. At this moment, in the shadows behind the throne, a mysterious sage quietly observed, his eyes flashing with an elusive light. His existence is like the eyes and ears of the gods, secretly intervening in the fate of the Glory Rose. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 18. Glory Rose took Alter and some knights to secretly go to the border to investigate the changes. On the wasteland, the traces of war were modeled, and the townspeople looked terrified. Obviously there had been an abnormal attack recently. Commander, these attacks. It's not like ordinary hostile forces, it feels like there is some kind of controlling force. Alter whispered. The Glory Rose squatted down, holding the crystal ball in her hand, and the shimmering light flickered, illuminating the ground. She touched the sand and felt an abnormal energy, as if an invisible hand was controlling the entire wasteland. This power. It is related to runes, and it is stronger than in the trials of illusions. Glory Rose's eyes flashed with a vigilant light. The source must be found, otherwise the Empire will be in danger. Chapter 19. During the investigation, she encountered a mysterious boy who exuded an ancient aura and his eyes were full of wisdom and perseverance. The young man whispered, "I've been waiting for you, Glory Rose. The power of the runes is spreading, and if not stopped, the Empire will fall into chaos." Glory Rose was shocked and frowned slightly. "How do you know my name?" "Runic power." The young man smiled slightly and pointed to the rune fragments floating in the sky. "I am from the Ancient Guardian and know your trials and challenges. Now, I need you to work with me to seal the source of power." Glory Rose clenched the hilt of her sword and looked resolute. "In that case, let's walk this road together, no matter how dangerous it is. Chapter 20. They stepped into the core of the rune energy, and a strange space appeared. The lake was like a mirror, light and shadow floated in the sky, and rune fragments fell like rain. The strong energy vibration made the ground tremble slightly. Glory Rose stood side by side with the boy, holding a weapon in her hand, and began to crack the rune formation. With each rune unlocked, the light stabilized, reflecting fragments of the past and the future, war, betrayal, victory, and sacrifice. Deputy Leader Alter guarded from the side and whispered, "Leader, the power of this rune. It is more dangerous than the trial of illusions." Glory Rose's eyes were cold, her fingers clasped tightly on the hilt of the sword, and she responded in a low voice, "The more dangerous it is, the more calm you must be. Only by mastering wisdom can we protect the Paz Empire." As the last rune was unraveled, the energy gradually stabilized, and the light seemed to bless her wisdom and courage. Glory Rose took a deep breath, understanding that she had not only completed a new trial, but also controlled part of the future destiny of the Empire. Chapter 21. After the rune seal ended, the energy of the Wasteland's ability began to dissipate, but Glory Rose felt that this was just the end of the first layer of crisis. Deputy Commander Alter said solemnly, "Commander, your Majesty may have anticipated the power of runes a long time ago, all of this is just part of his layout." Glory Rose was silent for a moment, staring at the outline of the royal capital in the distance, secretly thinking in her heart. His Majesty is romantic and absurd, but he has an extremely unfathomable plan. She knows that any rash action can fall into a trap. "We must go back." Her tone was cold and firm. "No matter how many games your Majesty has arranged, I must first grasp the situation before taking action." At night, she rode through the wasteland, her resolute face reflected in the moonlight, like a lone warrior guarding the fate of the Empire. Chapter 22. In the palace, His Majesty the Emperor is discussing the next step with his trusted strategists. The smile on his face was sarcastic and provocative. Glory Rose has completed the rune trial, but she still doesn't understand that she thinks she is in control of the situation, but in fact, the situation is already in my hands. The strategist reminded in a low voice, "Your Majesty, if she finds out the truth, I am afraid she will counteract." His Majesty stroked his chin gently, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. "Because of this, I want to see how far she can go." The mysterious sage in the shadows observed quietly, his eyes shining with wisdom, as if to hint that the fate of the Glory Rose would be determined by mind and choice, not just power and force. Chapter 23. Back at the camp, Rose of Glory began deploying Knights operations, assigning men to protect the border and the city. Although the changes in the wasteland have temporarily stopped, she knows that the crisis within the Empire has just begun. She summoned the core knights, her tone calm and resolute. "Regardless of the Emperor's intentions, we must protect the order of the people and the Empire. Anyone who wants to destroy it, we can't let it go." Alter secretly admired the commander's decisiveness. Commander, she is not only a warrior, but also a strategist. Glory Rose's eyes were firm, and she silently told herself in her heart, this is a war of wisdom, courage, and goodwill, and she will never back down. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 24. At night, under the moonlight of the royal capital, Glory Rose practiced rune interpretation and combat strategies in the camp. Suddenly, a strange energy struck from the direction of the palace, and the crystal balls of the entire camp flashed with strange light. Commander! Alter exclaimed, this energy. From the palace. Glory Rose clenched the hilt of her sword and said coldly, it seems that your majesty has begun to act. In the night breeze, she felt the subtle temptation set by his majesty, and every detail tested her judgment and courage. She thought to herself, this game is not only a conspiracy, but also a psychological warfare. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 25. At dawn the next day, the palace ushered in a grand celebration. His Majesty the Emperor is smiling, elegant on the surface, but secretly testing the mind of every subject and knight. Glory Rose led the knights to stand in formation, her eyes as resolute as steel. She understands that every smile and every word of His Majesty is a test of her wisdom and courage. During the celebration, a conspiracy suddenly broke out in the palace. Trusted strategists and royal family branches conspired to cause unrest, attempting to seize the royal power during the celebration. Glory Rose held a long sword in her hand, her eyes were like frost, and she calmly calculated every step in her heart, we must resolve this crisis, otherwise the empire will fall into chaos. Deputy Commander Alter was beside him and whispered, Commander, this will be the most dangerous duel. Glory Rose smiled, her eyes shining with perseverance, the more dangerous it is, the more calm you must be. Wisdom and courage will determine the future of the Paz Empire. Chapter 26. At the celebration site, Honor Rose was keenly aware of the hidden abnormalities. The golden light and singing in the palace concealed the undercurrent, but they could not hide the temptation of the mind. She held the long sword tightly, calculating every step in her heart. Deputy Head Alter whispered, Commander, this conspiracy involves a side branch of the royal family, and if it is not dealt with in time, the consequences will be disastrous. Glory Rose nodded, her eyes cold, stay calm, observe, find the source first, and then act. Her gaze swept over every corner of the palace, and the subtle expressions of each banquet participant seemed to convey a message to her. This is not just a celebration, but a test of wisdom and courage. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 27. As night falls, conspiracies emerge. Inside the palace, conspirators began to act, trying to secretly seize military power and runic power. Glory Rose led the knights to move quietly, shuttling through the secret passages of the palace to resolve the traps in the dark. Suddenly, a masked assassin appears at the end of the corridor, armed with a poisonous blade. Glory Rose quickly drew her sword, the long sword flashed with cold light, and the assassin was forced to retreat. She said coldly, the order of the Paz Empire must not be violated. Alter followed closely behind and felt the calmness and courage of the group leader, Commander, every movement she makes is a perfect demonstration of wisdom and courage. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 28. In the depths of the palace, Rose of Glory finally discovers the heart of the conspiracy, a chamber engraved with runes that radiates an ancient and powerful energy. The runes floated, echoing the surrounding aura like living creatures. She reached for the runes, the light flickered, and visions swept over again past and future wars, His Majesty's intrigues, the life and death of the knights. Glory Rose calmly analyzed in her heart, this force can not only control the army, but also influence people's hearts. It must be cracked first, otherwise the empire will fall into chaos. As the runes flickered, she felt the mysterious sage's gaze, as if watching her every choice from a distance. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 29. After unlocking the runes, a steady force spread throughout the palace. Although the conspiracy has not been completely broken, the situation has been controlled by Glory Rose. She led the knights to block the secret passages and keep the conspirators under control. In the palace, His Majesty walked out with a smile on his face, with an unfathomable light in his eyes. Glory Rose, you are really extraordinary, you can crack my layout. Glory Rose's eyes were cold. Your Majesty, this is not a competition, and the order of the Empire cannot be destroyed by any conspiracy. His Majesty smiled slightly, his figure stretched out by the candlelight, like an unpredictable storm, suggesting that her future challenges would be far more difficult than tonight. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 30. After the conspiracy subsided, Glory Rose stood on the tower of the palace overlooking the royal capital. The night was like ink, and the starlight and candlelight were intertwined. She knew in her heart that this crisis was just the beginning, and the real challenge had just been revealed. Alter whispered beside him, Commander, you have shown not only strength, but also wisdom and kindness. Rose Glory smiled, her eyes shining. Wisdom and courage are the true weapons to protect the Empire. Whether it is an illusion, a rune, or a conspiracy, I will go on until true peace comes. In the distance, the moonlight reflects the spire of the palace, like a mirror, reflecting the infinite possibilities of the future. Glory Rose knew that her fate was closely linked to the Empire, and the real trial was still waiting ahead. Chapter 31. In the early morning, the clouds and mist over the capital seemed to be cut by a knife, and the sun pierced the mist and shone on the city walls and squares. Glory Rose stood on the tower, her eyes as sharp as steel. She felt an abnormal aura. The military movements on the distant border were unusual. Deputy Commander Alter rushed to his side, looking solemn. Commander, the enemy's actions are not like ordinary invasions, they seem to be controlled by some kind of runic power. Glory Rose nodded and held the hilt of her sword. This means that the game left by your Majesty is not only a temptation, but a prelude to future wars. We must stabilize the situation first, and then find a way to defuse the enemy's rune control. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 32. On the border of the wasteland, Rose of Glory leads the knights to the front line. In the distance, a patch of black smoke billowed, accompanied by strange energy fluctuations. She felt the breath of the illusion runes, knowing that this power came from an unknown ancient guardian. A masked warrior suddenly appeared. His figure was like a shadow, and his speed was extremely fast, and between the battles with her, the sword light flashed. Glory Rose responded calmly. Every attack and defense was like deciphering the rune code of the battlefield. This power affects not only the body, but also the mind. She muttered softly, the long sword in her hand cut through the air, cutting through the phantom's shackles. The deputy regiment commander helped block the enemy's strange energy, and the two followed each other like shadows, slowly stabilizing the situation. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 33. As night fell, the fighting on the border temporarily subsided, but the danger was not over. Rose of Glory studied rune fragments in the camp tent, trying to find the source of control of the enemy forces. Her brows furrowed, and her eyes flashed with wisdom. This runic power. It's more complicated than the trial of illusions. She whispered, touching the crystal ball, the light flickering to reflect the situation in the royal capital. Alter asked in a deep voice, Commander, is it related to your Majesty? Glory Rose nodded calmly, Your Majesty and the layout of the mysterious sage are inseparable, but no matter what the situation is, we cannot back down. In the night sky, starlight intertwines with rune light, like a foreshadowing of a future war, reminding her of the importance of her next move. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 34. At dawn the next day, Rose of Glory led the knights into the enemy core area. The path is surrounded by a maze of illusions, and every step can lead to pitfalls. Her eyes were cold, she held a long sword in her hand, and her steps were steady, carefully distinguishing between illusion and reality. Suddenly, a familiar phantom appeared. It was the embodiment of His Majesty the Emperor, smiling and mysterious, and his voice echoed, Glory Rose, do you really think you can control everything? Glory Rose knew in her heart that this was a double test of psychology and wisdom. She took a deep breath, pointed the tip of her sword at the phantom, and responded coldly, true control does not lie in fear, but in wisdom and courage. The phantom dissipated into a spot of light, and the path ahead reappeared, suggesting that she had broken through the psychological barrier and could get closer to the enemy's core. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 35. In the core area of the enemy, the rune energy is the strongest. Glory Rose and Alter stood side by side and began to crack the core rune formation. With each rune released, the energy fluctuations stabilized, but with its stronger illusions and attacks. She closed her eyes, silently reciting the mantra in her heart, infusing wisdom and courage into every time she unleashed the talisman. In her vision, she saw the capital engulfed in flames, the knights annihilated, and the Emperor's sinister smile sweeping over everything like a storm. However, her determination was as solid as steel. No matter how terrifying the illusion is, wisdom and courage will lead me to true victory. The last rune was unlocked by her, the core energy was stable, and the enemy rune control was dismantled. The crisis on the border has temporarily subsided, and Glory Rose took a deep breath, understanding in her heart, the real trial has just begun. Chapter 36. The border crisis was temporarily lifted, but Glory Rose knew that this was only part of His Majesty's plan. Back in the capital, she observed the undercurrents surging in the court, and the subtle expressions between the nobles and the officers revealed future intrigues and power struggles. Deputy Commander Alter whispered, "Commander, these nobles are secretly allied, and if they don't keep an eye on them, they may join forces with the enemy country." Glory Rose nodded, her eyes shining with wisdom. "I must first grasp internal intelligence before I can predict the next move. Whether it is the enemy or His Majesty the Emperor, I must see through the situation." She secretly dispatched intelligence knights to shuttle through the secret passages of the palace and the dark alleys of the royal capital, collecting every bit of abnormal intelligence and grasping dangers and conspiracies one by one. Chapter 37. In the night, the streets of the royal capital twist and turn like a maze. Glory Rose and Alter secretly inspected, feeling a faint fluctuation in runic energy. This energy was not natural, but a remnant of some ancient technique. "Leader, this energy. It seems to be from the ancient guardians, perhaps related to His Majesty's secret plan," Alter said alertly. Glory Rose nodded coldly, her steps steady. "Whether it is the ancient guardian or the impact left by the illusion trial, I will crack it first and then protect the empire." She found traces of runic formations in an ancient temple, each symbol seemingly telling the possibility of future wars. She carefully interpreted, integrating wisdom and courage into her analysis, and slowly deciphering the secrets of the runes. Chapter 38. While she was studying the runes, His Majesty the Emperor personally appeared in the royal capital square. His Majesty's smile was gentle, but it concealed infinite coercion. "Glory Rose, you have unlocked the runes, and I appreciate your wisdom. But the next game is the real challenge." Glory Rose responded calmly, "Your Majesty, no matter how deep the situation is, I will only act with wisdom and courage to protect the safety of the empire." His Majesty smiled slightly, his eyes deepened. "Very good, this will be a test of mind and courage. You must choose who to trust, and you must also distinguish who is the real enemy and who is the fake friend." The candlelight and moonlight in the palace intertwined, reflecting the upcoming trials and storms. Chapter 39. At dawn the next day, a change broke out in the palace. The royal family tried to seize military power and used the power of runes to control some soldiers. Glory Rose quickly led the knights to respond, using the newly cracked rune knowledge to gradually weaken the enemy's control. During the battle, her long sword flashed with cold light, and every swing was extremely precise, fierce yet wise. Alter was by his side to help block energy fluctuations, and he looked at the group leader and admired in his heart, "Commander, she is not only a warrior, but also the embodiment of wisdom and courage." Glory Rose calmly commanded the knights, blocked the battlefield, and gradually took control of the situation. She knew in her heart that this battle was not only a contest of strength, but also a contest of wisdom and mind. Chapter 40. After the battle, the royal capital returned to temporary calm, but Glory Rose knew that the real conspiracy had not yet been revealed. His Majesty the Emperor observed her from the tower, his eyes deep and mysterious, as if hinting at more difficult challenges ahead. Glory Rose stood on the wall of the royal capital, overlooking the city. The night was like ink, and the stars were twinkling. She held a long sword in her hand and silently thought to herself, "No matter how terrifying the illusion is or how far-reaching the conspiracy is, wisdom and courage will lead me to protect the empire." Alter whispered beside him, "Commander, your wisdom and determination have solved all crises." Glory Rose smiled, her eyes shining with perseverance. "This is just the beginning, the real trial is still ahead. In the distance, the runic light flickered in the night sky, like a foreshadowing of the future, reminding her that the fate of the Empire was closely linked to her choices, and that every decision she made would change the future of the Paz Empire. Chapter 41. Over the royal capital, the runic light swirled like a gust of wind, indicating that an unprecedented crisis was coming. Glory Rose stood at the top of the tower, holding a long sword in her hand, her eyes shining with determination. Deputy Commander Alter followed closely behind, with a solemn expression. "Commander, Your Majesty's real plan is far more complex than we imagined." Glory Rose took a deep breath and swept her eyes over the entire city. "No matter how deep the game is, I have to see it through. Wisdom and courage are the only weapons to protect the Empire." Runic energy surged in the night sky, and the residents of the royal capital panicked, but she calmly commanded the knights to calm the people's hearts while deploying defensive formations to prepare for unknown challenges. Chapter 42. His Majesty the Emperor overlooked the battle situation from the tower of the palace, his expression elusive. He chuckled. "Glory Rose, I thought I was in control of the situation, but the real trial has just begun." In the secret room, the mysterious sage quietly observed, his fingers sliding over the runic formation, each symbol hinting at a new crisis coming. Glory Rose felt this power, frowned slightly, and silently recited the method in her heart. "No matter how realistic the illusion is, wisdom and courage will lead me to break through all constraints." In the court, a conspiracy between the royal family and the cronies took shape, suggesting that the next wave of conflict would be more dangerous and unpredictable than ever. Chapter 43. At dawn, Rose of Glory leads the knights into the heart of the palace to meet the final challenge. The palace hall is surrounded by runic energy, and every corner is filled with illusion traps. With a long sword in hand, she moved forward steadily, her every movement extremely precise, as if she was playing against time, space, illusion, and hostility at the same time. Alter was on the side to help block the energy fluctuations, his eyes full of admiration. "Commander, she can not only fight, but also analyze every trap and rune." Glory Rose knew in her heart that this battle was not just a contest of force, but an extreme test of wisdom and courage. Chapter 44. The core with the strongest runic energy, she faced the illusion of His Majesty and the real Majesty at the same time. Illusions whisper and real coercion, trying to manipulate her mind and decision-making. "Glory Rose, do you really think you can surpass me?" His Majesty the illusion asked. Honor Rose responded coldly. "True control does not lie in fear, but in wisdom and courage." She used her experience from all past trials to blend illusions with runic energy to gradually decipher His Majesty's temptations. Every swing of the sword, every rune unlock, is an extreme challenge to wisdom and determination. Chapter 45. When the last rune light went out and the illusion dissipated, His Majesty the Emperor showed a look of disbelief. He looked at the Glory Rose, his eyes flashing with complex emotions. Glory Rose stood steadily, her eyes as resolute as steel. "The fate of the Empire cannot be controlled by anyone, including Your Majesty." The mysterious sage quietly appeared and smiled. "You have passed all the trials, and your wisdom and courage are enough to protect the Empire." Glory Rose nodded slightly, understanding in her heart that true power is not runes, not power, but mind and determination. Chapter 46. The palace has returned to calm, but there are still potential crises within the capital. Glory Rose summons the knights, strengthens internal defenses, and deploys rune monitoring formations. Alter asked, "Commander, will Your Majesty test again?" Glory Rose smiled. "Your Majesty's temptation can no longer shake me. Wisdom and courage are my greatest shields." She carefully observed the movements of each court minister to prevent them before they happened and ensure the stability of the Empire. Chapter 47. In the distance, rune energy fluctuations appeared again in the wasteland, and it seemed that new hostile forces were quietly gathering. Rose of Glory leads the knights on an expedition to face the unknown threat of war. In every encounter, she uses her wits to crack rune traps while commanding the knights to protect the people and the city. Alter admired in his heart, Commander, her courage and wisdom are enough to compete with the gods. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 48. In the depths of the wasteland, they found an ancient altar with extremely strong runic energy. Glory Rose felt the hint left by the mysterious sage. True peace requires not only strength, but also wisdom and kindness. She used her mind technique and longsword to stabilize the energy of the altar while sealing hostile runes to ensure that the empire was not harmed. Under the nightfall, the runes glow like stars, reflecting her resolute countenance, symbolizing the triumph of wisdom and courage. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 49. Peace returned to the capital. His Majesty entered the palace, a mysterious smile on his face. Glory Rose, you have truly surpassed all trials, His Majesty praised. Glory Rose gazed back at the capital, a resolute glint in her eyes. True victory lies not in obeying orders, but in protecting the empire and its people. Alter whispered beside him, Commander, you did it. Glory Rose smiled, knowing in her heart that her wisdom and courage had become an indispensable force in the empire. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 50. At night, the royal capital tower is on the spire, and the stars are twinkling. Glory Rose overlooked the entire city and muttered in her heart, whether in the past, present, or future, wisdom and courage will lead me to protect the empire. She held a long sword in her hand, the breeze blowing, and the runic light intertwined with the starlight, symbolizing victory, hope, and the infinite possibilities of the future. Deputy Commander Alter smiled, Commander, you have firmly grasped the fate of the empire. Rose Glory's eyes sparkled, the real trial is never over, but we are ready for everything in the future. The Paz Empire ushered in a new life under the protection of wisdom and courage, and the legend of the glorious Rose has become a miracle witnessed by the gods and the world. Extra Chapter 1, A Strange Banquet in the Royal Capital. Glory Rose stood in the royal capital square, and tonight's banquet was different from usual. The palace specially invited strange people from all over the world to participate, the lights were bright, the fireworks reflected the night sky, and the colorful light and shadow were intertwined. Commander, these people. Not just banquet guests. Alter whispered, some have strange powers and may have hidden intentions. Rongjiang Rose smiled, her eyes swept over every guest, secretly planning a strategy in her heart. During the banquet, strange performances continued. The dancers stepped on the trail of flames under their feet, the sound of the piano turned into light and shadow, and even a small illusion space suddenly appeared in the corner, causing the audience to exclaim repeatedly. She shuttled lightly through the crowd, every time she waved or smiled, she was observing the true abilities and intentions of the extraordinary people. Suddenly, a young man in a silver robe walked up to her, his eyes shining with a mysterious light. Glory Rose, I have some things that only you can understand. Glory Rose was wary in her heart and nodded slightly, tell me, but don't try to deceive me. The young man smiled, and a ball of light appeared in his hand, reflecting the possible future battle situation and crisis. Glory Rose secretly sighed in her heart, sure enough, even a banquet can become a test of wisdom and observation. Underscore 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 un. Extra Chapter 2, The Adventure of the Phantom Forest. Rose of Glory and Alter are ordered to patrol the frontier forest, which is called the Forest of Phantoms. The forest is famous for its visions and auditory hallucinations, and many people lose their way once they step inside. Commander, be careful, the illusion here is even weirder than the border. Alter reminded in a low voice. She clenched her long sword, her steps steady, and she silently recited the Dharma in her heart. As the shadows of the trees swayed, countless phantoms appeared, herds, flames, and even familiar soldiers and companions, trying to confuse her. Honor Rose calmly analyzes every detail and discerns between reality and illusion. Suddenly, a phantom fox with 9 tails appeared in front of her, whispering, "Are you the guardian chosen by fate?" She stared at the fox and nodded slightly, "No matter what fate is, I will go down and protect this land." The phantom fox roared and turned into a point of light and flew into the sky, leaving rune trails that guided her safely through the phantom forest. She secretly sighed in her heart, even in the forest, it will give guidance to the wise. underscore 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 un. Extra Chapter 3, The Strange Market in the Royal Capital. A new strange market has been opened in the royal capital, and merchants and strange people from all over the world gather. Glory Rose and Alter go to investigate, and the market is filled with exotic goods, spices that fly automatically, crystals that predict the weather, and even magic scrolls that can temporarily manifest illusions. Leader, these goods. Some are extremely dangerous. Alter said nervously. Glory Rose smiled and shuttled between the stalls, carefully observing each product and its source. She bought a small scroll of runes, put it in her arms, and thought that one day, these little things might save someone's life. Suddenly, a stall owner lost control, emitting abnormal energy from the illusion scroll in his hand, causing the surrounding crowd to panic. Glory Rose stabilized her figure, quickly used runes and long swords to stabilize her energy, and instantly resolved the crisis. The people in the market looked at her in surprise. She smiled and whispered, "Power is not only used to fight, but also to protect and observe." When night falls, the lights of the market flicker, and Glory Rose and Alter walk on the way back to camp, secretly thinking in their hearts, even in daily life, it is full of trials of wisdom and courage, and every action will prepare for future crises.